Hey, this is Greg, welcoming you back into the Sampleist once again. Today, we're diving into a unique new release from Osterhouse Sounds, Ripple Cello, a deeply expressive cello library crafted by Ben Osterhouse. This instrument brings a fresh take on the cello, focusing on movement and natural transitions that mimic the flow of a live performance. Ripple Cello offers a range of articulations designed to capture the subtle yet powerful nuances of cello performance. Plus, with its built-in ideas browser, you get 80 MIDI clips to help inspire and integrate creative phrases right into your projects. Thanks to the intuitive Ripple engine, the playback feels incredibly lifelike with samples that synchronize seamlessly to your DAW's tempo. Ripple Cello requires the full version of Contact 6.8 or above. It does not work with the free Contact player. And at a modest 345 megabytes download, you'll have it installed in no time at all. Ben has crafted these samples with a specific focus. There's a unique energy when two notes connect in a single bow stroke. Each sample is recorded as a swell where the first note gently flows into the second, almost like a ghost note that gradually builds in intensity. This isn't about traditional cello articulations, it's about creating a fresh, expressive sound that captures the organic movement of the cello. We're grateful to Ben for providing us with Ripple Cello to review, and as always here at the Sampleist, we fiercely maintain our independence, meaning that Ben has had no involvement in the making of this video. You can always rely on us for an honest, unbiased perspective. Stick around as we explore some of Ripple Cello's key articulations and MIDI clips, and I'll share a short composition showcasing how the instrument brings new dimensions to the cello. If you find these deep dives into virtual instruments helpful, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content on inspiring tools and sounds. Let's jump right in. So I want to start today's conversation by explaining a couple of key principal concepts about Ripple Cello that you need to keep in mind. This is not a conventional cello library by any stretch of the imagination. A conventional library might have a range of articulations like legatos and sustains, staccatos, pizzicatos, etc. That's not the case here. Ripple Cello centers around a singular concept of the ripple. A ripple is the oscillation between two notes, a duplet if you will. So for example, playing a G and a B flat, we get or so the Ripple Cello is centered on that concept and it allows you to create different layers of movement. And I actually really like this idea because to me, it invokes the idea of, I think Philip Glass minimalism is what came to mind for me, where you can take a simple concept and add layers on top of it to create these beautiful harmonic modulations. So with that simple concept, those layered harmonic possibilities really start to bubble up to the surface. So let's have a quick look at the instrument itself and the UI. As you saw earlier, the middle panel there is a representation of the keyboard where you can see the two notes in action. The animation shows you the direction of travel, so there are a up play and a down play, if you like. So hitting a first note, in this case a G, followed by a B flat, goes from low to high. But the inverse is true too, where you can hit a note, in this case B flat, and then down to G. So you get two directions. So I find that little animation really quite visually helpful, helps me to get a context of where I am when I'm playing. This panel down the bottom here, or in the middle rather, allows you to select either quarter notes or eighths notes as we currently have, or a 16th snap. So for example, a quarter note would be a slower tempo. the eighths you just heard. And a 16th snap. And as Ben explains in his video over on his YouTube channel, the 16th snap has a slight dotted feel to it. And he explains in his video that a straight 16th kind of sounded a little bit too dense and messy. They're the expression controls that you can map to your mod wheel or any CC you like. There's the reverb. Down the bottom, we have a series of options, and I'll explain a little more later. So you can have a variation in the speed. So these samples can be triggered, can be in half time, a triplet time, a second triplet, which is faster, and then double speed. The direction can be controlled is as played, as is currently the case, and as the name indicates, the sequence in which you play the two notes is important. So I said the lower followed by the higher gives you an upward one, or an upward down by a lower one gives you the downward. But of course you can force the engine to always play down, or you can always force it to play up. The sync area is an interesting piece. It's a little bit like input quantization or legato, as Ben explains it in his video, or a bit of a mix of the two. So we'll explore them shortly. And then we have the way to control some release samples. And finally, in the top left-hand corner here, we have a button that if you click reveals a panel full of MIDI clips. So the MIDI clips, so Ben tells us in his video, they're somewhat a bit like a set of presets, if you will. They are snippets of MIDI that you can grab the handle and literally drag that into your DAW session to reveal the MIDI behind each example. So for example, you can click on the Hello World and it gives a very basic introduction to how it works. And it plays you a preview of it. A quarters one, or in the low range. Maybe some fast triplets. An upward melody. And the idea is that you can use these clips to import into your project and use them as a basis of inspiration to create your own harmonic melodies and transitions. So there's a very important concept that I forgot to share with you earlier that's absolutely germane to how Ripple Cello works, and that is all the samples of Ripple Cello are recorded within an interval of a perfect fourth. So what this means is that so long as the two notes that you press are a perfect fourth or less apart, so a perfect fourth being 5 semitones, you will get a triggered sample. So for example, here's my C, just drawing your attention to the keyboard below for a moment. I've beg your pardon, I've pressed this key here, a C. If I go to a C minor, beg your pardon, the E flat to create a minor third, I'll trigger the minor third. C to E being a major third. But then I can just add other notes on top. And this is the C major triad. So there's a C to an E and an E to a G. Creating lovely possibilities. So with that said, let's explore some of these possibilities in real time. Now, I will say from the outset, exploring this in real time, playing now with the fingers on the keyboard as I'm about to, can create some absolutely lovely accidents, as I call them, where you get results that you don't always expect, and that's half the fun of exploring it. But at the same time too, much of the power allows you to, it really sits with the ability to control the MIDI that underpins it. So when you drag it into your DAW session, you can make sure that each note precedes the other one at the right time so that you can create lovely overlapping fields. For example, if you have a F, we can have the A. Now, if I just drop another note in the middle here, you can create a series of overlapping duplets, if you will. Also, too, another really interesting thing to do with is make sure you've got yourself your sustain pedal pressed, because you can use that to hold down two notes. So, for example, again, F to A flat. Press down the sustain pedal, and now I can take my fingers off the keyboard and maybe map them somewhere else. The sync area here, I'll leave it to Ben to explain more in his video, but they principally determine how each of the underlying samples of your notes line up. So for example, if you have the swells, that means all the swells of the notes are totally synchronized. So pressing another note here, it doesn't matter when I press it, they will always sync up. That's really nice for changing chords right at the peak of the ripple itself. Other options include pitches and ripples. Now, it may not be obvious when you're playing it now, but again, I refer you to Ben's video because he'll go through it in much more detail than I'm able to here. You can turn off the release samples because you can see here as I was playing, I take my fingers off the keyboard and there's an auto function that allows you to select, or the engine selects the right release sample. And you can select 1, 2, 3, and 4 release samples. So again, 2 notes, fingers off the keyboard. But maybe the auto can be used in many cases. Quick look at this speed angle. So these are the now recorded, sorry, they're played back at their original sample speed. But you can go to half. Or again, double speed. And that's all tempo synced to the tempo of your DAW. Another lovely little trick that I stumbled upon, if you like, when I was playing with some of the MIDI clips, for example, you can select it and it will start playing the audio review, the audio sample. But you can also play this in real time. So I'm now going to add some further notes to this little alternating sequence. We'll see where it goes. Just take my fingers off now. Back to the original example. And you can do that with any of the other ones. Let's pick another one at random. This is truly random, so I've got no idea what this is going to be like. This one's called Dynamic Attack Time in Practice. So that it just allows you to play with it in real time. And if you love that little preset, drag it into your DAW, add your own flavor and notes to it, and see what you can come up with. I found personally that it's one of these, how would I describe it? Lilting styles of playing that lulls you into this rhythmic rhythm that you can put your fingers anywhere, hold down your sustain pedal, and these lovely harmonies and melodic motions would rock back and forth with alternate timings. So it does have that air for me personally of a minimalist instrument, reminiscent of, as I said earlier, Philip Glass or maybe Reich, or those type of composers. If that's your thing, I think you're going to really, really enjoy this. Okay, so there's a walkthrough of what Ripple Cello can do in a very rudimentary way. It's far more powerful than what I've been able to show you here. How about now if we go head on over and I'll let you have a listen to a piece that I wrote earlier using Ripple Cello, and on the other side of that, we'll wrap up today's video. There is something really fresh and creative with Ben Osterhouse's Ripple Cello. I love the thinking and the intellectual integrity that's gone into the creation of this instrument, and in that vein, it is perfectly aligned with Ben's creative philosophy. Ripple Cello is a unique and nuanced instrument that creates beautiful and at times hypnotic cello pulsing rhythms, all centered around a simple concept, a ripple or oscillating duplets. I do like how the engine itself is minimalist, like the sound of the solo cello itself. But like all well-designed engines, it has only a few moving parts, but does allow you to build complexity and richness by interlacing a set of musical building blocks to create something really beautiful. I can imagine it being used in film score where the emotion might be thoughtfulness or pensiveness, perhaps conveying the passage of time. The minimalist feel of it also means it pairs well with solo piano or the pulsing engine of a broader string quartet. I'm wondering out aloud if Ben is considering creating a violin, viola or double bass version of this instrument. I suppose time will tell. Ben is a talented musician and a skillful samplist, and this is quite a mature offering for a small independent developer. I think we should nurture and support such creative people because their willingness to search in the nooks and crannies of possibility to come up with something innovative is what keeps this space so interesting. Ripple Cello is currently available for a very reasonable $79 US, and for my money, worth every penny. If you want an instrument that's conceptually fresh and minimalist, then you too might be inclined to explore Ripple Cello further. And with that, it's time to wrap things up. Once again, our thanks to Ben for making Ripple Cello available for today's review, and of course, thanks to you for making it this far with me in today's video. I sincerely hope you found something inspiring to take away with you on your musical journey. On your way out, please give us a thumbs up to spread the love, and do subscribe and ring the notification bell to be sure you stay on top of our next video. Wishing you all the best on your journey to find your sounds and find your soul. This is Greg from The Sampleist. See you on the next one.